Hey, BA fam. Welcome back to the Brown Ambition podcast. It's your girl, Mandy Money. I am so happy to be back with y'all. If you survived the blizzard to beat all blizzards this week, if you're in the Northeast like me, I just hope that you have taken your dose of ibuprofen because shoveling 3 feet of snow, y'all, the way my back is breaking, my fingers are sore. Shout out to anybody who's doing their own shoveling because of the blizzard. School was closed on Monday. I was home with both my children. By the way, one of whom was getting over a stomach bug. I don't know if I've told y'all, BA fam, but I'm solo parenting for the next like 10 to 11 weeks because husband's got a new job. He has to do training out of state. I was raised by a single mom for starters, and I've never not appreciated the fact that that must have been the hardest thing my mom ever did in her life. It was four of us. Okay. I know it was the 90s and she could get away with just, saying, don't answer the door. I'll be back at 5 p.m. and leaving us alone to our own devices. Watching The Price is Right and drinking from the water hose was like cool in the 90s. It's a little bit different now, but nonetheless, extremely challenging. I love you, mom. Thank you for everything. Now, for me, for the next 10 weeks, in a lot of ways, like, I think this has forced me to put some systems in place to support me that I probably should have had all along. One of which is more than just once biweekly house cleaning. So the problem with me in house cleaning is like I have two kids. Our house is not that big. It gets really untidy and things of just piles of things tend to pile up in weird places throughout the week. I don't necessarily benefit from having a deep clean every couple of weeks or having like a house cleaner come every couple of weeks trying to scrub my floors and surfaces. I need someone to come in and literally fold laundry, put it where it belongs, pick up toys, organize those toys, go to my kitchen counter and find that one place on the counter where just a bunch of junk has piled up, mail and bits of Lego and a package and, a flyer from school. Organize that shit and put it away and just clear the clutter. And it really clicked for me when I had to figure out what kind of support I needed. So what I ended up doing was I went to care.com and and this is how I found care.com. I knew about care.com, of course. Had always thought of it as a place where you would find like a nanny or a babysitter. But I was scrolling on TikTok and a mother's helper came up on my page and she'll do like, she'll follow herself around and show you what she does as a mother's helper. I had heard of this concept before. A mother's helper is kind of like a housekeeper, but really they're coming into the house to give a hand to whatever the mother needs. And in my case, it's not usually childcare. In my case, I got the kids covered. They're going to school, they're going to daycare. They have activities. I don't need someone to help with the children. I need someone to help with the tidying and the organization and the clutter. And so I went on care.com and sure enough, you can search for a mother's helper. And I didn't end up finding one directly through the site. I did find one through, she was a sister of someone that I had reached out to who wasn't available anymore, but it's like my sister does this. So I met her and I was very clear in a way, that I haven't been clear with cleaners in the past. I was like, I do not need you scrubbing, deep cleaning, mopping, like, cleaning tiles. I really just need surface organization and decluttering. And and I don't just need it once a week or every other week. I need someone to come twice a week. And so it's been going on for a couple of weeks now, and I am just the stress relief has been immense, tremendous. And the lack of clutter has done so much wonders for my nervous system. I can actually sit in my living room and enjoy a peaceful, like 20-minute like break. If I give myself a break during the workday, I can read a book. I can do it without seeing out of the corner of my eye the pile of crap that I have to organize. So she's coming 3 hours per visit twice a week, so 6 hours. $30 an hour. So it's $180 per week, which on a budget level, $180 is not a small amount of money. However, as a family of four, it is 2 trips to a restaurant eating out, which I would say we average about 2 to 3 times eating out per week as a family. And now the husband's gone. I can run a tight ship. Ain't no eating out now. Like it's going to be butter noodles every night and there will be no eating out. And I am pulling back in that regard. I'm also pulling back on the cost of like weekend activities for the kids. So booking play dates where they can like play at someone else's house. They're going to be seeing abuela a couple times, like just to get them out of the house. And yeah, so I have invested in that one area, which has been great. I've brought on an extra person to help me out with scheduling the podcast, which has been really helpful. So these are a couple of new systems that I'm putting in place, new supports that I'm putting in place as I'm sort of preparing for single momhood. And I'm also raising a hand and actually letting my community, so my neighbors, my mom friends in my local area, let them know that I'm going through this right now and I'm figuring out the right way to ask for support. I'm going to let people know specifically what it is that I need. And specifically, what I need right now is someone who can watch the kids, for 30 minutes or an hour. So I can go to the grocery store by my damn self. 30 minutes for an hour of childcare so that I can go to the coffee shop and have a sanity break. Someone who can pick my older son up from the bus stop and hang out with him for 40 minutes if I'm coming back late from recording the show in the city. That's what I really need help with is those entertaining the kid things. So if you're someone who knows a single parent, or that someone's doing a lot with their kids and you're wondering how you can support them, from my perspective, it's, hey, can I take your kids to the park for an hour? So you can do whatever you want. I'll take the kids to the park for an hour. Oof, that would just make my whole day. And I know it would make their whole day too. Um, so wish me luck as I continue my single mom journey. I'm pretty damn proud of myself so far. I've had so many obstacles already. Last week was winter break. Homeboy, when my youngest son had a bad stomach bug, I thought I was going to have a family member visit me, thought I was going to have help that I didn't have, changing my plans. Then this freaking blizzard, schools closed not 1 but 2 days. Then my iPhone completely died on me. Obstacle after obstacle is kind of hitting you, these speed bumps, and you're wondering like who's up here writing this script, this ridiculous script for my life. Like I could not empathize with you more. We are going to get through it. You're actually doing a wonderful job. It's just one day at a time, one day at a time. In the midst of all this, I still had to put on a show this week, right? Today's guest is lovely. I've always wanted to get more time with her, but it's just, we're so busy. We're both podcasters. We're both moms. We live in different states, but we finally were able to get her back on the show. You may have remembered her. It's Kiersten Saunders. Kiersten Saunders is the co-author of the book Cashing Out, and she's also the co-host with her husband Julian of the Rich and Regular podcast. And she and I have a good old-fashioned kiki and a catch-up on what it really looks like to walk away from a corporate job and pursue full-time self-employment as a creator in 2026. Kiersten talks about walking away from corporate in February 2020. Yes, just a month before the real pandemic hit and everyone was shut down, and what it was like for her, beating her own path as an entrepreneur at that point. And we kind of look back, look ahead 6 years from where she was at that point. She'll talk about lessons learned. We'll talk about how the message of their book, Julian and Kiersten's book, Cashing Out, hits different now and actually is more relevant than ever because of the mass layoffs that we're seeing, the uncertainty under who's era in leadership, AI chaos, everything that's got a lot of women of color rethinking our careers and our finances. She'll share what surprised her most over the past 6 years of entrepreneurship. We talk about breadwinner fatigue. We talk about what it's like having a partner who works in your same field versus one who doesn't. We go all over the map, y'all. So I really hope that you enjoy this conversation. I hope that you love Kiersten because she's going to be back. She's going to be a brown table guest, I believe, next week, a couple more times this month. So yeah, the brown table is back and I'm going to have a bunch of different incredible guests for y'all to get to know and to join me here on the podcast. Again, thank you so much for your support. And now I will let y'all enjoy my conversation with the wonderful Kiersten Saunders. Hey, VA fam, welcome back to the Brown Table. I am joined by the beautiful, the stunning Kiersten Saunders, one half of the Rich and Regular podcast, also co-author of the Smash book, the Smash book, Smash hit book,
You know what? It works. Smash book.
the Smash book. Y'all, the last time Kiersten was on the show, she was promoting her book, Cashing Out, which she co-wrote with her hubby and business partner, Julian Saunders. Congratulations on that. It's been a couple of years.
It has. It just turned 3 last year. So it's about 3.5, and it's acting like a 3.5-year-old.
Is
A
it?
little more independent. It sells itself a little bit now. But it's interesting because a lot of the messages that we were writing about and talking about 3.5 years ago are now more relevant to a lot of people. And so it's rehashing those emotions. You as an author, you try to move forward, and it's like, oh, I'm kind of going back to where I was in 2020 when I wrote it, which has been an interesting process.
Well, let's talk about that because of cashing out. I mean, I know when you came on the show, we talked a lot about the idea of knowing when to walk away from an employer, and y'all also talk about like the 15-year career concepts like that. So what about today is making those themes like more relevant?
So when we first started writing the book, which was in 2020, we were in the middle of the pandemic. Like there was a lot of furloughs, there was a lot of job insecurity, there was a lot of anxiousness. And we were able to kind of use that to both market the book and to write it. Like it's happening. The thing that we've been talking about is happening at a mass scale. And so as like a psychology for the nation, it felt like we were ready for the message. But of course, the literary timeline, it's you write the book and it's 2 years before it hits shelves. So by the time it had hit shelves in 2022, things had bounced back. Like everybody was in these new jobs. There were all these new DEI roles and opportunities. Lots of people had gotten promoted. We were just in the good times. Like there was the great resignation where people were willingly walking away, and there wasn't necessarily as much tension in the workplace as there is now. So fast forward another 3 years, and then you get all this AI drama, you get Trump in office, and now we're kind of right back where we were 5 years ago when we were writing the book. And if you look at Black women specifically, our unemployment rates right now, like if it was white men, it would have been called a recession. Like the number of unemployed or underemployed Black women is just astonishing. And then the ones that are still in the workplace, especially the corporate workforce, are now more open to questioning what the plan is because they know that they can't stay there forever or they don't want to stay there forever. And so it just brings back the conversation of like this idea of cashing in, get what's yours, and then cashing out, like have an exit plan. That's really the whole premise of the book is to be investing with an end in mind, like to be treating your finances as a path to your freedom and your exit because all good things must come to an end, and all bad things should come to an end.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about I think a book like yours that's more evergreen is like and unfortunately, I've been in personal finance and business reporting for so long that I've lived through these ups and downs and I'm like, "Oh, it'll don't worry, it's good now, but it'll go back down, and then everyone's gonna need a book like this."
That's
I
it.
feel like if you read that book in 2022, maybe you had a leg up on what's happening right now. But yeah, 100%, I think this is a great time, like, if y'all haven't gone out and got your copy of the Cashing Out, it's usually I feel like it's on my
I got one behind me.
somewhere.
Look, right here.
There
Boom.
we go. Those cuties. That's such a good point, I mean, and I think you might know, I'm working on my book right now. It's so funny when you said 2 years, I'm like, "Try 3, try 4."
There's been a lot of disruption.
Damn book. I know, I know. If I had only been as smart as y'all to do it in the early pandemic when there was a lot more free time. I didn't even know how free I was. It's like, oh, it's becoming
Isn't that
nostalgic.
crazy?
The mall.
Hindsight.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but I'm in the middle of this book and a lot of it is like it's a conversation about the relationship with ambition and how it's towing that line between acknowledging the headwinds like you talked about. Like there's so much up against us, right? We know that. And
Mhm.
I think Black women more than anyone know what is up against what we're up against. No
Mhm.
one cares about us more than we do, right?
Right.
And yeah, so it's like at a certain point, it's the acceptance of those headwinds. And the next step is, yes, and we're still going to strive and we can still, go after the things that we want. Talk to me a little bit. How long has it been since you left it was in marketing, right? Marketing role?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was marketing and business development. I turned in my resignation on February 14th, 2020. So Valentine's Day 2020, approximately 3 to 4 weeks before the world shut down.
Mm.
So that timing was not as ideal. It worked out, but it was also kind of very scary because at the same time, I was like, oh, I was leaving to do all this great stuff, but nothing was happening anywhere. And so that was challenging. But it's been 6 years since I've been in corporate full time, which is crazy.
6 years. What surprised you about venturing out on your own 6 years in? Like, what has been the biggest surprise?
I think the biggest surprise is how long it has taken me to detox or unlearn or shed, whatever word you want to use, all of the things that I thought was what made me good at my job or what made me talented or special. I just had a completely warped understanding of where my value was. And the first couple years of entrepreneurship, like I tried to implement all the things that worked in corporate America in my small business, from meetings to templates to strategy, structure, even tone and voice. Like everything about it was just like a version, a slightly blacker version than the one that I had in corporate America, but it's still like a version of that template.
Yeah.
And now it's a lot more free flowing. Like now it feels like it comes from me. And that has been incredibly rewarding. Like when I say it's 6 years, it doesn't feel like 6 years. It's because probably the last 18 to 24 months have I truly felt like an entrepreneur, a business owner. And then this last child, 6 to 12 months, has just been like a masterclass in the hard parts of doing this thing. Like it has been very, very challenging. And the only way that I can cope is exactly what you said, to accept that it is challenging. Like that's not new news. And to go from there to say, all right, well, like you've done challenging things before, like figure it out. And not in a mean way, but like you're capable of figuring out how to get through something challenging and not spend a bunch of time wishing it was different.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not having a panic attack in the middle of the night on LinkedIn looking for job postings as an entrepreneur, like,
Oh
are
my
you even
God.
doing it right?
Right. Every week.
Right?
Every week. Like maybe just for a little health insurance, a little 401k match would be nice. Like just anything. My gosh.
What I would give for a sign-on bonus from RS. Yes! I know. It was real cute. It was really cute.
Ah.
I mean, you took the plunge with your husband. I mean, did
Well,
y'all
he went first.
he
He
went
left
first. I was
in
gonna ask, what was
2018.
okay, he was a couple of years ahead.
Mhm.
But you don't have the relative, like yeah, you're both in it, right? So, I mean, call it a privilege if you'd like. Have a husband who works he ain't making big money. He works for the government, so he got good insurance.
Yeah,
But I have
well,
that, I have
that's
that going for us.
listen, that is our biggest expense by far other than housing. Like insurance is such a massive chunk of the money that we spend every year. And honestly, like I have gone back and forth of like, do I just want to get something, a job, even if it's part-time, just to help offset that? But then the math doesn't math on the amount of time that it would take to offset that cost. And I keep trying. I don't know that I don't know that that's gonna be forever, but man, it is a challenge. And you're right, a lot of the entrepreneurs, specifically in like the creator economy or in the world that we're in, the lane that we're in, do have a spouse that works, which is a nice like balance in times like this. Right now, it's just the two of us, and as if being married isn't hard enough to have to work with your partner and deal with the hard stuff on both ends. It's just like, okay, I see you, Sky Daddy. I see what you're trying to teach me. I'm gonna learn it though.
It's like no side of this equation has greener grass. Because on the other hand, it's like it can be a little bit lonely to be the spouse that's doing that has to get up and figure it out every day and doesn't just sometimes I'm just like, "So you just go to work and you just know
It's
what's
just
expected
emails
of you,
waiting on you. Yeah.
and you just have, like, goals you're after," and I'm just like, "Wait, what am I doing today at the house? Or how am I what's gonna be the thing today?" Yeah, I get it. Sometimes And sometimes I long for, like, that understanding of what I'm going through,
Yes.
but yeah, I could see how it could also be
Oh,
challenging.
I totally relate. That's why I left. So when he left in 2018, I was continuing to work and I had just gotten promoted. I was like a director level at my company. And so I was making good money, like really good money, best money I'd ever made up until that point. And I took a lot of pride in being the breadwinner and like retiring my husband. This was like in the era where Tab did it with
I'm about to say time is now. Got a lot of shit for that.
she did. But this was in that era, and I was just, like, super proud. But then, like, the months went by, a year went by, and he had the nerve to, like, be happy. Like, he had nothing to complain about. I would complain about emails and, microaggressions and sorry, my alarm just went off. I would complain about emails and microaggressions and just little political stuff at work, and he had no tolerance for it, one, and then, like, he would talk about a beautiful flower that he saw that day, or he passed a new park, or I worked at a Whole Foods today and they had this new pasta. And it was just like, shut up. And so that
He
tension,
goes to urgent care on your dime,
right?
get that mole removed, right?
Exactly. But that tension got too much for me after like 18 months. I was like, I miss having somebody to complain with.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 100%. Being a breadwinner is fucking overrated. Either way, like, I don't know how men put up with it for so long
Yeah.
because it really yeah, it is. It's just at the end of the day, it is wonderful. Who doesn't love the idea that you can, like, provide and support, in a partnership, and at the same time, long term, years and years and years and years and years, like, a human being is gonna have some times where they buckle, and, like, it can be a lot to carry that responsibility and that weight, solely on your shoulders.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's like a contradiction on top of a contradiction, and it never goes away.
Mhm. I'm just proud of us for waking up today, getting out of
Listen, but so we didn't even talk about motherhood. It's like I got a whole child who is also
you.
growing and changing,
He's a big
and
boy now. What is it, 8 or 9?
he's about to be 9. He'll be 9 in about a month, which is crazy. I gotta
Big
stop
kid.
saying things are crazy. Like, is
No,
what
but
I'm
it is.
supposed to say.
It's
It
fair. Yeah, 100%. I mean, how is that I know if I remember one thing about the pandemic and shifting into entrepreneurship, I was a bit further. I was in 2022 when I walked away, and I I don't remember I just assumed that I could keep being I got really addicted to how present I was as a mom with my baby, like, during the pandemic. Addicted is a strong word. I got very used to it. It was very hard for me to have a different version of that. It was very hard to, like and even now, I try to be a stay-at-home entrepreneur, mom, whatever the hell. Like, I try to be super duper present because I'm like, I do work from home, and so I should be able to meet him at the bus stop. And
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to go to aftercare because I'm here and he can just come home and, do his homework and it'll be fine. And I am running into, no, this is definitely not sustainable.
Oh
And
my god.
I'm only just now investing in additional supports and care for him and little brother so that I can have more space. I don't know why it took me so long, but got just totally untenable.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
So I'm a little bit late to that, but yeah, I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be different. I'm not gonna be as available."
You're not the only like, I'm later than you. My son is about to be 9, and I am just now coping with the idea that I can't go to everything and have the business goals that I have. Like, this is the first year I'm gonna miss his first Little League game. I'm actually gonna miss his first and second Little League game because 'cause I'll be traveling on business.
You
And
boss.
normally, I don't know that I would turn those things down, but I would certainly think twice about them. And now it's just like, no, he's at the age where I have to tell him, like, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be there, but he will have hundreds of games. That's what I'm telling myself. He will have hundreds of games. Like, this is not gonna ruin him. But you're absolute I have built an identity around how present and available I can be for him. I know that it's made a difference in his life and mine, but there's also a level of separation that has to happen to make room for the other things that I want to grow in my life, and so it's a struggle. It's a struggle, but we gonna be alright.
We're so in the same boat. And how do you deal with how are y'all as a unit, like, coping with I mean, I'll just say from anecdotally from what I've heard from a lot of creators, and I guess that's the category we'd fall into, all these words and stuff, influencers, creators, podcasters, writers, entrepreneurs, is a lot of inconsistency in the past couple of years with like consistent, like whether it's not representation,
Yeah.
brand deals, influencer deals, like speaking opportunities. A lot of that has become really challenging in the past couple of years. Have y'all had any headwinds like that? And if so, like how are y'all pivoting or coping as a unit?
Yes, yes, it's been very challenging as everything has shifted from ad dollars to types of spend to types of influencers. Like there was a whole wave within the last year where the only influencers companies wanted to work with were celebrities. Like they were under the impression that Shaq could move more units than your normal TikTok or Instagram star or influencer or whatever it is. They just threw all their money at celebrities. Now I think they're coming back from that and saying like, okay, well, that was great for Shaquille O'Neal, but we didn't necessarily see any movement in our brand metrics. But the way that we've dealt with it was we've always focused on diversification. Like we've never just had one main revenue stream. And so when influencer marketing dried up, okay, well, we could move to speaking. And if speaking dried up, then we could move to podcast advertising. And if that dried up, we could go to B2B consulting or speaking. And so we've got all of these different little pockets that we can dig into for revenue. The bigger challenge is that they all have very different sales cycles. So to work with a corporate partner on a speaking agreement or a consulting agreement, that's like a 6 to 8 month, timeline when you include like pitch to actual payment, which payment is a whole different story because you
Listen,
got
like,
you got to get in the system, you got to wait 30 days, you got to, do all this
yeah,
stuff versus like, influencer marketing where they're typically working with an agency. The agency's going to front you the money, pay you still not quickly, but quicker. And then they get their money from the corporation. And so that's been the hard part is just managing when the money comes in. Like finding the sale is challenging, but that's my background. Like I have no problem reaching out to people and asking. The problem is like from ask to payment is like 9 months. And the one place we didn't really like dig into is direct to consumer sales. Like we were never selling a product or a course or some flagship item directly to our followers. That wasn't the business model that we pursued. And so that lever that's the fastest money. And that lever is like not, we have a course. We have a great course. It's called Making Money Grow, if anybody's interested.
making money grow. Okay.
Yeah. We have a great course, but it's not, it's not where we put our primary bread and butter, both in content or in energy to sell that thing.
Ye
So
Diversification, I 100% agree with, but in practice, it's freaking hard to
it's
be
so hard.
diversified because just individually, each of these buckets could be someone's entire focus and take 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year just to sustain, and that's where I'm like, I've had the same issue, or not the same issue, I won't put my problems on you, but, I'll sit down and I'm like, "Okay, speaking business," but then I'm ignoring, you know, the book or the podcast and other stuff. I did have a direct to consumer offering. I had Mandi Moneymakers. BA fam's tired of me talking about how I closed it, but I closed it in January. Shut her down. It was I had to yeah, I've made a decision to, undiversify a little bit,
Mm,
just
mhm.
a little bit less for sanity's sake, and so I can just be a bit more just invest more time into, the podcast, for example, is my main focus right now, and maybe there'll be a time when I can go back, but yeah, I had to bring it in, and
Yeah.
maybe that was a bad move, but it felt good.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Get it. I get it.
Feels
And there's
good.
all kind of like advice that contradicts. There are some
Mhm.
business coaches or prominent specialists who will tell you like one thing, double down, triple down on that one thing. And it's like, well, if that one thing is also dependent on an Instagram timeline that is controlled by an algorithm and your topic is deemed not important, then that one thing doesn't work. And so I've always had a backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. Like that's the whole premise of cashing out. When something doesn't work, you need to be able to have the ability to walk away from it with your dignity intact and not trying to keep wishing it for it to work, like continuing to beat the dead horse. And so the same approach I take with my business, but it is super freaking hard. Like it is It is hard. That's the only, but I think it's Rachel Rogers who says, choose your hard. Like I'm choosing that version of hard versus the other ones that I've tried and didn't have as much agency to control the outcomes with.
Yeah, 100%. It's that constant you have to kind of go into that space of, like, the doubts just to remind yourself, "Okay, no, but I'm doing this because it aligns with my values, the way I wanna see my life, what makes me happiest," and, like, "Oh, yeah, I know. I remember why I'm doing this. Keep going." But those little, like, side quests of doubt, they just kind of come. They're just part and parcel, I think, of the path that we've chosen, and, yeah, it's that, like, diabolical faith in yourself that, we gotta have.
It's yes.
Plus our kids are watching, and now Rio knows what a podcast is, and he's like, "Are you doing your podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's very successful. I must continue for years." Oh, lovely. Well, taking it back to, like, where people are at now in this economy, Trump's about to go on a podium tonight. We're recording this the night of the, State of the Union address, which I don't know how relevant that is to anybody listening. It sure ain't relevant to me,
Girl.
other than it makes me think about the state of our union, the state of, like, individuals. And you talked about, the job market right now and how incredibly it's been hard for a long, long time. It's layoffs left, right, and center. And I have seen and heard, from the women in my community that they're wondering, should I just plan my own exit strategy? Like get ahead of it before they ask me, let me have my own plan to walk away. And so I wanted to get your take on like what would you say to someone who's considering wanting to be ready if for when they walk away? Like what would you say? Here's what you should focus on, think about so that you can best prepare yourself to take that leap.
Yeah, it is. It is the good news is that America is still a very rich country, at least on paper, but we'll go with that. Still a very rich country. And so the exercise is primarily psychological versus actual constraints. Like there's a lot of money out there. You could sign up for, I'm going to give the cliche examples DoorDash, dog walking. You could, in most neighborhoods, find a part time gig to make some cash doing just about anything. You can sell things on Facebook Marketplace. Like, if you want money, there's not a lot of barriers to entry to get money. The bigger issue is consistent cash flow, adjusting your expectations for what your lifestyle needs to look like and what parts of your lifestyle you're willing to trade off for this new identity, this new free identity, and then making sure that you have a plan for when something goes wrong. And that could be a plan that includes like, an emergency fund and all the things that we typically talk about in personal finance. But a lot of it is dependent on community. Like I think it's the most undervalued, underappreciated, under talked about, and I don't mean community like we talk about online, like your actual neighbors, like the people who live within 5 to 10 miles from you, the businesses within 5 to 10 miles from you, the nonprofits, the food pantries, all of the support that is within 5 to 10, 15 miles from you needs to be like known by you. Like you need to know, here's where I'm going if something happens. Here's who I'm calling. Here are the people that can bring me this, that, or the other, and then also be willing to volunteer in the good times. Like, here's how I'm going to help so that I better understand this situation. But there's is a path. There's absolutely a path if you want to pursue it. You just have to put yourself in a different mindset and identity than the one that you are currently in your current situation.
Is that because, like, when you talk about community, like, in what cases would you, like, as someone who walks away from corporate, be needing to lean on that community more than maybe you are now?
The first and most obvious one for me is just borrowing things. Like it's one of the habits that I had to change the most was when I was in corporate and I was getting that steady paycheck every other week. I had no problem just buying what I needed, even if I only needed it for a temporary time, even if I only needed it one time, even if I only needed it for I just buy it because like, why not? But when you learn that like your neighbors actually have a drill or a water hose that reaches your ceiling or a 12-foot, that's what I was looking for. Pressure washer. That's the
Mhm.
word. A 12-foot ladder, even a formal dress or, like just little stuff, deep conditioner. I will reach out to my homegirl and be like, yo, I'm out. Do you have something to hold me over? Like little stuff to just slow down the buying process so that you can you can steady the amount of cash that's leaving your home and make sure that you have a good baseline for what you're actually living on because cash ain't coming in as quickly. It is one of the most underrated plans that people like don't make is how do you reduce your spending? You assume that it happens automatically, but it is a lot of little conscious choices. There are also all kind of free things that happen in every neighborhood. So if you have kids like me or like Mandy, like instead of paying to go to a trampoline park, like if you would just look at your local parks and recreations webpage or listen to the radio for those of you who still have a commute. A lot of people don't listen to the radio anymore. But there's all kind of advertisements for back to school drives or free fairs and festivals or a grand opening where they're giving away something. And a lot of times we'll hear that and we'll think, oh, that's just for like underprivileged people, or that's not for people like me. And it's like, it is for whoever needs it. A lot of times when it is free, like there's a lot left over and you can still enjoy that thing because you live there. Like it's for the neighbors. And so I think that that shift for me of just like enjoying more of what is openly available and offered all the time has been eye-opening to me about like how limited I was because I assumed that I needed to pay for everything that I did or consumed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Free childcare, the amount of money I can save by having my neighbor, pick up a kid. Little man was sick on Friday. I couldn't pick up my older son from his camp, and so a neighbor, went out there and got her, the same neighbor who I lent a formal dress to for a cruise that she went on a few months ago. Like,
You see it?
yeah, it's so
Play
nice.
dates. I mean, it's everything. And I know it sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, once you like consciously focus on it, it's just like anything else. Even if we were talking about manifesting money or anything that you want, the ability to save money works the same way. Like once you really tune in to all these opportunities, like, oh, the local skating rink is doing a parents' night off. We can just drop our kids off. I'm not saying drop them off like with no regard, but like you and a friend can say, yeah, let's send them there. We'll go grab dinner, or maybe we have dinner at your house and we swap and you saved money and you got what you wanted. Like it didn't cost you anything. It just cost you a little bit of creativity. So I just think there's some creativity that has to be applied to this world and it has to be viewed that way. It can't be viewed as like a cutback or a downgrade or like a ugh. It's got to be like, well, that was a fun way to get a free lunch. Would have never thought of that. You got to have some playfulness to it. Otherwise, you'll miss it.
It's such a it's really, like, contradictory to the image anyone has if they think of someone who's, like, gonna become self-employed, work for themselves, that lifestyle creep and, like, really getting ahead of that and making sure that you are living beneath your means is even more important because in so many ways there's pros to working for yourself, right? But at the same time, it's like it's it's even riskier, I mean, there's no risk-free option. Either you're working in corporate at someone else's behest and, can be let go at any moment, or you're working for yourself and could lose a couple of clients and be all of a sudden underwater and, like anyway, but the best defense against that, I think what we're getting at is maintaining a lifestyle that is sustainable during good and during the inevitably challenging times.
Yes. And
I definitely
viewing,
veered away from that, like, early in my when I had my during the pandemic and after. I started to, yeah, not live beyond the means, but definitely not live as frugally as I was before I had kids. It became a lot more harder when I had them babies, and
I always struggled with that word frugal. Like it's not a word that I identify with. I still don't really.
that's where it isn't frugal. Just tastes like mouthballs in my mouth.
Yeah, it's hard, but my tongue don't move that way. I struggled with it, but it wasn't until this is probably gonna sound crazy, and I apologize in advance if it offends any listeners, but it wasn't until I started talking to more white people, like truly talking to them as neighbors, as friends, that I started to see it as a different version of luxury, right? There's not just one version of luxury. Luxury is not just synonymous with expensive. That's not what a luxury is. Luxury is something that isn't easily accessible by everyone. It's something that is rare. It is something that is special to you. And what I saw was like the freedom, the ability to move creatively. The ability to move creatively through the world and recognize its abundance in many forms was the version of luxury that I felt most comfortable in. I had never identified with like, like it wasn't the soft life, like those words. It was the way that it was portrayed on Instagram, like where you're walking around in like little furry heels and like a silk robe. That's just not my life. I'm a boy mom. I'm low maintenance. I didn't relate to it. But my version is like recognizing that a library is literally full of free books.
Ah,
Literally.
free tickets and stuff.
They don't care how long you stay. Like, and our big
It's strong.
library,
They're strong these days.
like our
In
big
the
library in the county, not the one that's down the street from my house, but the big library has this whole third floor that has like a maker studio where you have like a free 3D printer, a free Cricut machine. They give free classes if you want to learn how to embroider or crochet. And they have all these tools that were bought by the county that are just there. All you got to do is sign up. And it's like, wow. I feel the same way I felt like when I really learned what a corporate 401k match was, where it's like, you got money for me? All I gotta do is do this one thing and I get money. That's how I feel moving around my city now, where it's just like, did y'all know they giving out free stuff? Like you can go in Costco and just get free samples. Like
we know that, but yes,
I know, but we know that and we check the box, but like when you're in it, you appreciate it. Like there's a gratitude and an attraction that then attracts more, that then attracts more. And it's like there's so much that people pay for that they don't have to, or they don't have to pay as much for. Like you don't have to pay a 40% premium because you like to buy it from, I'm gonna say Target versus TJ Maxx. Like
I
it's the
wish I could
same product.
figure out how much I've saved by not shopping at Target.
I know.
I know for a fact it has been hundreds, if not thousands, just because you go in there for one thing and end up with like 12 more.
Listen.
And, yeah, huge for me was the Target boycott, thank goodness for that, but also Amazon. Like, I stopped really messing with Amazon, except for a couple of cases where something I needed, like, it came in clutch. My husband refuses to join me on my Amazon boycott, and so he still has an account. I'm trying to win him over. So sometimes I'll log into his account if I need something. But anyway, it's that convenience, and it's like what you said, slowing down the spending, trying to find ways to slow down my spending and, yeah, giving up the Amazon and not relying on Target. It also has forced me to borrow more than often from neighbors. Yeah, 100%. And I think though those touches of humanity, are really for me, they're very soothing to my nervous system. Which this poor baby, this poor nervous system that I was given, I only got one of them, and, she been through the ringer. There's this, like burnout is real, right? And I think especially in our age bracket, that's prime time for, I think, burnout to be happening because maybe you've got a couple kids, you got that mortgage, you got more responsibility at work because you were killing it and you got everything you wanted, which you got promoted, 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 and pressure, pressure, pressure. So, what are the signs that maybe it's time? Like, I feel like burnout can be so intense sometimes that sometimes it's like only thing you think to do is walk away, quit. I can't take this anymore. I must quit. I must walk away. But I also think that there is sometimes when it feels like there's a fire alarm going off, that the answer is maybe not walking away. Like, how do you sort of see that? What would you say to someone who's feeling like that right now? Like, fight or flight is real.
Yeah, it
Convincing
is.
pulling a plug is not the answer.
It is. And I think you kind of alluded to it in the way that you framed the question. Fight or flight is real, but it is also very nervous system driven. And your nervous system doesn't necessarily respond to logic. Like it responds to scripts, it responds to images, it responds to somatic releases. And so you have to really step out of yourself. And although you may think that you're being rational, make sure that you tend to your nervous system first. You got to calm that thing down because if you are making decisions from that heightened place, they are anything but rational. Like in your mind, you're being chased by a tiger, when in reality, you've got 14 emails that need to be responded to, and a baseball game, and drinks with your girls. Like that's the reality of the situation. And you got to separate it from the feeling that it causes. And I think the other thing that I've learned about burnout even just in doing this work with money and careers and happiness, is that burnout is really a result of doing the work that you don't want to be doing. So it's not just a lot of work that's happening or a lot that's expected of you. It's doing things that are expected of you that you don't want to be doing. And so if you can close that gap and really figure out how to offload the things that you don't want to be doing or the things that are not best suited for you, you can have those tough conversations. You can learn that very hard skill of delegating or learn that hard skill of having the conversation with someone you love to say, like, look, I just can't do that anymore. I can't be at every little league game anymore. Even if the person you love is 9 or 6 or 2, you still have to learn how to have a difficult conversation with them. And once you do that, then you minimize the number of things that are truly burning you out and you can start to whittle that list down a lot. Because it's not just about having a lot of things to do. There are people who are eternally busy that are incredibly happy and not burnt out. So it's figuring out like what's causing the friction and then addressing those things, finding the skill and the courage to do it. And I say skill for a reason because it's not just like positive psychology and like hyping yourself up. It is a skill to have a productive, difficult conversation. It is a skill to delegate effectively. And it is a skill to get rid of things from your responsibility list that you thought couldn't be moved. They can be. Like everything is an option in a lot of places. And so, it's working through that.
Yeah, that's really wise, and it makes me think of too this journey that I've been on to get to know myself a lot better and to have some to recognize that the feeling of fight or flight, the feeling of burnout doesn't mean that you're failing, but it is your body saying, pay attention to this and let's look at this and let's think about it. And you have to you have to get to a quiet, safe place, whatever that is. It's calling a neighbor, say, can you watch the kids for 30 minutes? Or if you have a partner, hey, like turn on YouTube. I'm going to sit in the car. I love my car. Sit in the car and just get my mind right and ask yourself, "Okay, what am I feeling and what can this be tied to?" And I'll let you in, BA and to Kirsten, the one way that I use AI is I use it to gut check moments of intense emotions.
Me too. Yes. I have it all trained and everything. Yes,
Really?
girl.
Okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Remember what I told you about my sons and their ages? Okay, great. So one of them won't go to bed."
Yeah.
And it's quite I mean, I went back and forth like, "Is this how I should?" But I find it to be really helpful. And I know that it's hilarious because like the AI has a certain tone and a voice, and it's always like, "You're doing great, and this is all just makes so much sense," and all that. However, if I have brain overload and it is a bunch of personal stuff and work stuff and, family stuff all happening at once, I will dump everything that I think I need to be doing into my AI and just be like, "I'm crashing out, I don't know what to do." And before I know it, I'm like, "Oh, I can handle this, and here's what can be." Just kinda helps to prioritize and get it clarified. Okay, I'm glad that I'm
Yeah.
not the only one.
No.
I
Like
find it to be so helpful.
that is the use case. Like it is good at a lot of things that humans just aren't,
Mhm.
specifically pattern matching without emotion. Were you in like gifted classes when you were growing up, or like were you just like a really smart, studious kid? I think
Yeah.
there are just some people, this is what AI taught me about myself, by the way,
Okay.
because that pause that you're talking about between your nervous system reacting and you making meaning of it doesn't happen in my body naturally. Like my brain moves so fast that before my body or like before I've even had a chance to react to something logically, I've already decided a story about it. And it's hard for me in entrepreneurship and in motherhood because there's so much happening all the time. And so if I don't hear back from an email or if I get rejected from something that I pitched, my mind automatically says like you're not good enough. And it runs with that script. My nervous system runs with that script. Like if my brain says must not be good enough, then everything shuts down from there. Like I'm not creating any more content. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not speaking to the people that do love me and rock with me. I'm just not good enough. And so building in that pause has been so hard because it is almost automatic in my brain. I just have a quick brain. I'm very smart, very fast. I have a very fast brain.
Sometimes it's hard to talk to people because you already know what they're gonna say, and you're finishing their sentences, and you already know what you're gonna say and how it's gonna end, and you're like, "Okay, can we just get." Yeah, I can really
Some of it is ADHD driven and some of it is like, I've heard it before. Like, if you're truly interesting, I am locked in to like every single word. I'm not anticipating. But there are some people who speak in a very specific pattern, whether it was learned from television or the region that they're in. And it's like, yeah, I already know. Come on, come on, come on, get to the part, get to the part. But with myself, I do the same thing with other people's behaviors towards me. I assume that I know what they mean. And it's like, I don't though. Like, that's a very ego driven idea that I would know with every interaction what somebody meant by it. But my brain thinks it does. And learning that pause, and to your point, like just taking the AI and saying, "Ooh, I've noticed that my heart is racing. I am avoiding this task. I think what I'm telling myself is that I don't want to do it because it's going to be hard." And it reminds me, like, girl, you have done hard things before. Please open your computer and do it. And it's like, oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right, I got it. I'll do it.
And there's nothing wrong with our brains. It's just sometimes you just need like a thought partner, just someone to rein it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a very active imagination. If you imagine some wild shit, usually that
Yeah.
makes me feel pretty bad. And it's like,
Yes.
just imagine nicer things. That'd be nice.
Yes.
So shout out to our chatbots for helping with that. Yeah. Just to kind of close out the conversation around entrepreneurship and being a creator in 2026, what would you say to someone who's feeling like, okay, this corporate lane I'm in right now is not the right fit, but I see these creators online who are like doing great things and killing it. That's what I want to be doing. What would you tell to them if they're thinking that's the option for them, if they're hating corporate right now?
I would say to practice whatever skill you think that person has at work. Like, practice it while you're getting a paycheck, practice it in environments that are not online. The online game, that hustle is a very um, it's similar to corporate, but there's a lot more that you don't control because of algorithms and just the way that social networks are set up. So unless you've got some strong traction, the discoverability of your work online takes a long time. Like, unless you've got a viral hook, you're willing to reveal something about yourself, you're willing to be extra vulnerable upfront, it's very hard to get that initial traction.
You have a really juicy pimple that you want to pop.
Yeah, like, you gotta be willing to, you gotta be willing to admit you spend $600 a month on soda, like something crazy. And
Yeah.
then you gotta like opt into sharing that journey. Like, you create this parasocial relationship with the people that you tell your biggest secret to, which can be overwhelming because you just told the internet, not like just people like you, not just people you want to connect with. You told everybody, and you have no control over where that goes. So the safe way to practice it and to get your nervous system attuned to what you want to do, which is be more visible and be more you to more people, is in the real world at work. It can be something very simple, like maybe showing up to a Zoom call dressed differently, or maybe your hairstyle differently, or it can be making small talk in an elevator with a stranger and just seeing where it goes. It could be making a joke with someone senior in your life, but you've got to get your reps going for your nervous system so that you don't train it on the wrong metrics, because it's very easy to do that online. You will train it to chase the wrong thing, and then you will look back, have all the followers in the world, and still not feel like yourself and still not feel like you are doing what you wanted to do or the way that you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think that's really wise. The only thing I would add is like, I like that you said practice it in corporate. I also think practice it, just go ahead and try. Like, you can't, I would never say to someone, drop everything and then go launch a creator career, from scratch because of the time it takes, yeah, to build that audience. And I do think there's a way to do it. Even if you have, even if you're worried about your bosses finding out and all of that, if it's like tied to the work that you're doing, it can be a newsletter, a Substack. It can be being a guest on, a podcast. It can be creating content like under a pseudonym, but just something to start flexing those muscles. Because if
Exactly.
you hate it, because it's hard. It
Listen,
is gonna be hard. You heard us talk about it, right?
listen.
Not because we wanna scare anybody away, but because I'd rather let you know what you're up against.
And it's important that we say it because it's not the work that's hard. It's not the typing into the keyboard or the setting up the phone. It's the reaction or lack thereof that is the hard part, and what your body and your brain tells you. Like, when you spend an hour editing a freaking reel or doing whatever, writing a newsletter, and you get like one like, and 12 views, like, you gotta be okay with it. You gotta know that, like, that wasn't an hour wasted, and that doesn't mean that you need to now go, like, rebrand and do a photo shoot and pay somebody $10,000. Like, it's just part of the process, and you gotta fall in love with the process from all angles.
I just wish that I could be in your little community and be 5 minutes down the road. Just feel like,
You're not that far.
"Girl, I'm in New York. How much further can
Why
it
did I
be?"
think you were in Charlotte? I'm
I'm not in
lying.
Charlotte. I am in Atlanta sometimes, though. I gotta let you know if I ever come down and I wanna do a week out of the iHeart studio there and record. There's so
That's
much
literally, like, 10 minutes from me.
there's so many incredible people in Atlanta. Alright, well, let me take a quick break, BA, and we're gonna be right back, and I'm gonna get to the one of my favorite times of the show, Brown Boost, Brown Break. Be right back. All right, BA fam, welcome back to the show. My incredible guest today, Kiersten Saunders. We have come to the end of the show, but my favorite segment, which is called Brown Boost, Brown Break. We're either going to spotlight something that we want to boost and we're excited about, or take a break from something that we are fed up with. And just, instead of telling ChatGPT or our bot of choice, we're going to unload on each other what's frustrating us. Would you like to go first or would you like me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Well, I came across this on the Grio. The headline is How a Black Woman's Grocery Store in Chicago is Reclaiming the Promise of 40 Acres. And it's beautiful. It's a Black woman from Chicago. What is her name? Liz Abana, who decided that she wanted to envision what is the concept of 40 acres and a mule? What would that look like actually today? And so she came up with this concept, the 40 Acres Fresh Market. And it's a fully functioning market stocked with fresh produce and meats and everything essentials right in the middle of a neighborhood that used to be in like a food desert.
Mm,
She opened it in what used to be a Salvation Army thrift store, had like these heavy concrete block walls. She said it felt more like a prison. And now the picture, I'll post a link in the show notes, y'all, so you can see it. It's just so beautiful. And so I just love this. I think that first of all, Black owned businesses in 2026, yes, let's lift them up.
amen.
But second of all,
Amen.
it's like a woman who saw a need in her community and got it together to build something incredible like that. So,
Love it.
congratulations to you, Liz, and I hope 40 Acres I see PNC Bank is like a sponsor or something like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I
We
hope
had
that
excuse me, last year we did a op doc on, uh, like, what am I trying to say? See, this is how I know I need a coffee. It's like an opinion documentary, but we did something called Taste the Nation, and one of the people that we interviewed was Rihanna Lynn, who is a food scientist and a fellow Tar Heel. We went to school together many moons ago, and I guess this is my brown boost. Shout out to Rihanna. But she introduced us to the owners of this autonomous grocery store in Atlanta. I think it's called Good and Gather. I'll check my notes when we're done and send you the proper name for it, but it was just an amazing conversation about the need for food and Black farmers and just our history and how we survive these times by feeding our body and like truly making health is wealth, like a literal interpretation of the things that we eat and where we shop. And it was a great conversation that you reminded me of when you mentioned that there are still Black women who are out here doing this work, like still trying to figure out how to keep us healthy and fit.
I need a Black woman to take over Trader Joe's because
No.
growing up and growing older has meant that I really don't understand the hype with Trader Joe's anymore. I don't know how anybody does their grocery shopping there. I don't know why they have cornered the market on millennial retail, but I just feel like it's ripe for a takeover.
It is. I get the hype. I don't like the experience. I think they pick the worst parking lots, and
Yeah.
I can never find exactly what I need when I'm there. But I do get stuff. I get groceries, but be having a
I
fridge
get
full and nothing to eat.
exactly. Plus, they're having a recall every other week.
Are they?
Yes, 3,000,000 bags of, stir-fry rice or like the frozen stuff, because it's all, like, processed and stuff. I think we just found our collective brown break in Trader Joe's.
You picking beef with Trader Joe's?
I would 100%. I'd be shopping at DJ's now. You can buy it in bulk.
Listen, we're an Aldi Costco fam, so
I love it.
with I'm right there with you.
Well, Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me at the brown table and for sharing your light, and I hope I hope that the cold shoulder top makes its way out of the donation pile. If not, it had a great run, and it will forever be immortalized on this episode of Brown Ambition.
That was my actual brown break, having too many dang clothes. But yes,
I'm proud of you
I
for
might
making a
keep it. I
pile,
kinda
though.
like it now.
I'm proud of you for making a pile.
Thank you.
That's what my AI would tell me. He'd be like, it's bot. It would say, "You made a pile today. Good job.
Good
Go
job.
take
You're
a
done.
5-minute break just for you."
I love it. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Where can BA fam find you? We gotta get our copy of Cashing Out
Yes.
still available wherever
Yes.
books are sold.
You can find us on Instagram at Rich and Regular. We have a super cool YouTube channel also at Rich and Regular. On LinkedIn, you can go to our website, sign up for our newsletter, and our podcast comes out every single week, also called Rich and Regular.
It's a great companion for Brown Ambition. I know we have a lot of overlap, so I hope people are BA fam and Rich and Regular fam in the same house.
Yes.
All right. Well, until next time, BA fam, thank you so much for listening. Kirsten, sending you all the love and
Thank you.
luck on this journey that we both on. I do think we should collab. We'll talk offline about that.
We definitely should.
Until next time, bye.